So my card said that I went on a date with someone more awkward than myself, which was true, and as you can tell, is maybe difficult to understand. One time I was explaining to someone that I was an awkward kid that grew up into an awkward adult, and I did this move and knocked my glass of beer all over the table and all over myself at the same time. So that's kind of the level that we're dealing with. So I decided, okay, I was out of a relationship, had dated a few times and gotten this like, oh, you're great, but like, I'm not really there. And I'm like, well, then why the fuck are you online? So I was like, all right, committing. And I was like, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna go out to someone who's just like nice. Because the bar in Portland is on the ground, like on the ground. And people trip over it. They're like, oh, it's whoa, standards. And I'm like, okay. So, of course, I was doing the online thing because I'm awkward. So meeting someone in real life doesn't really feel like an option. So I saw this guy and I was like, oh, he doesn't seem terrible. And he seemed like, you know, we just chatted for a bit. And he had like what seemed like a super interesting like woke job doing like political justice. And I was like, sweet. Let's do this. Let's meet up. So he suggests this place in Southeast where he's like, oh, it's called the Zipper. Does anybody know? Familiar? Okay, great. He's like, okay, they have a bar and they have food. And so like, I learned a while ago, bitches like fucking eat on a date, okay? It's not worth it. Be like, oh, I'm gonna be like a lady. Like, no, I'm gonna fucking eat, okay? Because I did that before and you get like really drunk. You're like, this is a great idea. Like, it's not a good idea. So I was like, okay, great. So we'll go eat, we'll have some drinks. So I'm a perpetually late person as well, which goes really well with being awkward. So I decide like, I'm gonna be early. So I'm early, which is amazing. And I'm sitting there, and then I see this guy walk in who looks like this gentleman. And I'm like, oh, hey, okay. He comes over, and the first thing he says is, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I have to go to the bathroom. And this is like a very nice impersonation of what his voice sounds like, because I am Jewish, emphasis on the ish, okay? Like when I lived in New York, I got approached a lot of people like trying to hand me something. I'm like, no, like I'm not, but like, yes, the hair, I get it. Okay, moving on. But he was like uber northern New Jersey Jewish, okay? To the point that at one point on this date, he was like, so when I was in seminary, and I was like, excuse me, what? And he says, I was like, what happened there? He's like, well, I'll give you the first date version. When we get to date 3, I'll tell you the truth. And I was like, I don't think I want to know. So he says, like, this is really embarrassing. I need to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, okay, yeah. He's like, but I saw you, and I didn't want you to see me, and then see me go to the bathroom, and then be like, is that him? And then me have to come back, and then be like, oh my God, I just walked by, and I saw you, but then I wasn't there, so I just had to come over and tell you that it's really awkward, I have to go to the bathroom. And all this time in my head, I'm like, go to the bathroom. Like, it's cool, just go ahead. And then he's like, okay, so I'm gonna go. I'm like, great. And in that moment, I was like, this close to just leaving. But then I was like, this is gonna be too good. This is great. So like in that moment, I was like, I really don't see this going anywhere. But he comes back and we start chatting, and it's just like that level the whole time. But the moment was, and he's a lovely human, and I'm not trying to be like a dick about it, but he plays, like he was really into being like a bell choir, which I had no idea what this is, and this is like, I don't know if this is just a Portland thing, I'd never heard of it, but I was like, fascinating, go on. So did you like in elementary school, did you ever have the things, you know, they like have like the thing and you like gong and gong. So I'm like, wow, and I'm sitting there like drinking my beer, and I'm like, really? Oh man, like what are you into? And he's going to like the politics of the bell choir, and like they wanted to name it this, but then the, you know, director was like, that's poor grammar, we can't name it that, we have to do this. And I was like, holy shit, there's like this whole underground like drama with bell choirs in Portland, okay? If you didn't know, now you know, okay? So at one point, like, I'm an asshole, and so I can make a joke out of anything. So I'm like, oh, you ever get like real feisty with the bells? He's like, well, yeah, sometimes you gotta have like, you know, power to it. I was like, no, but you ever do like the thing they do in the drum line where you're like, you know, and like toss to the other person, or you ever like do some moves, you reach over, you're like crossing bells, and he like straight face goes, you don't do that with the bells. And I was like, yeah, I know, but like, you know, for like flair. He's like, no, they're very expensive equipment. I was like, noted. All okay. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm hungry. Do you want to eat? He's like, oh, I had like a really late lunch. I'm not hungry. I'm like, you suggested this place. So I actually had a gift card to like the chicken place there. So I was like, oh, I have a gift card. I only want to, buy a sandwich if you want. He's like, oh yeah, well, I'll definitely get something. I'm like, what the hell? So then suddenly I'm paying for this guy's dinner because of course like 2 meals was more than just like 1 gift card. So I was like, okay, this is weird. And so then at the end of this, I'm just like, okay, this is like entertainment. It's better than Netflix for right now. And so I was like learning all about the Bell Choir drama. We talked all about how his mom now lives in Florida, and how she needed help moving a dresser down there. It's just like very nasal, like Fran Drescher, but like better. And so then I'm finished and I'm just like, if we're at this awkward level, like you don't need to be polite, you just like say how it is. I'm like, okay, it was great to meet you, like I'm gonna go. He's like, okay. And I just meant it as like, I'm leaving, but he was like, okay. And he gets up too. I was like, okay, okay. So we go outside and then he turns to me and he goes, okay, this is where I get awkward. I was like, oh man, that hadn't been awkward, but now it's gonna get awkward. So I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I was like, And I said, well, usually I say, it was nice to meet you. She's like, it was nice to meet you. I'm like, oh, you're just gonna do what I say. I was like, and then I stand on 1 foot and like turn around. Like I thought you might like actually do it, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna be like a huge asshole. So I'm like, well, I usually say it's nice to meet you. And then like, I like to give people a hug. He's like, oh, okay. And he's like taller than me. So I go to give him a hug and like, people have told me I'm not trying to brag, I'm a really good hugger. So I'm a really good hugger. Multiple people, if you want one, I'll give you one. They say I commit to it, and it is true. So, I give him a hug, and he like hugs me in that like kind of polite way, and I'm just like, okay, and I'm not like, sensually hugging him, but I'm just like, okay, like I give a hug, and then he goes, oh, this is nice. Oh, and kind of starts doing the move with his hands, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel good inside. And then I go, okay, that's enough. And kind of like, just like taking like, okay. He's like, now what? And I was like, oh my God, really? So I go, okay, well, I'm gonna go that way because my car's over there. He's like, okay. And he starts walking with me. I go, where are you going? He goes, I don't know, which way am I going? I'm like, I think like that way, just because it was opposite of mine. So that was the end of it. And then the next day, he texts me, he's like, oh, like topical reference to what we talked about. I hope you had a great night. When can I see you again? And I was like, hey, it was really nice to meet you. Really enjoyed the Bell Choir combo. I'm just really not feeling it, but thanks again. And then as like the last ditch effort to try to like persuade someone to go out with you who's just said no thank you, in I think a very polite way, there's always this, but have you thought about, or like, are you sure? So he's like, are you sure? 2 hours is not that, 2 hours, okay. 2 hours is not that long to get to know someone. How about square dancing? I'd never responded.